So, what is the best camera for wildlife photography? A lot of people have been asking me. There's a lot of answers out there, and I thought it would be a good topic of discussion for today and kind of debunking some of the myth about what should really be in a camera when you are a wildlife photographer. I am Émilie Talpin, I'm an OM System Ambassador in the US, and let's discuss this question. So, what is the best camera for wildlife photographer? You're probably asking that question because we ask it every year because there are new cameras that are coming in the market. And so everybody is thinking, well, this new camera is probably going to be the best camera for wildlife photography. Well, first of all, it's not because it's the latest and greatest that it's going to be the best camera for wildlife photography. A lot of people are saying, yeah, this is a very expensive camera, so it probably has all the tools that you need to be a great wildlife photographer. Well, no, maybe this extremely expensive camera is going to be great for portrait or landscape, but not for wildlife. So don't think that because you are buying the most expensive camera, you are going to get the best camera for wildlife photography. Now, a lot of people are going to tell you, yeah, look at this camera. It's a big camera. It's going to be great. It's a rugged camera. It's not because it's a huge camera that it screams, I'm a professional photographer. We have to debunk that myth. You can have a small camera like what I have, OM System, or have an Olympus, an old Olympus camera, and still maybe that's the best camera for wildlife photography. It's really not about size. Size to me means that if it's really big, it's going to be heavier. That's one factor that you should consider when you're going to get your wildlife camera. The best camera is the camera you're going to be able to travel with and carry around. You might have the biggest camera and the biggest lens. And yes, maybe they are going to take amazing photos. You're going to have great reach, super sharp, being able to get a lot of lights. But at the end, if you can't carry your camera, you're not going to get any photos. And there are a lot of situations where you need a camera system that is light and flexible. So don't think that because you're buying this big camera and this big lens, you're gonna get the best results. Because if you can't be in position in the field and be able to track your subject and get in the right location, then it's not gonna work. This is not gonna be the best camera for wildlife photography. Now, there are also so much buzz about megapixel. Megapixel, megapixel, my camera is so great because it has so many megapixel. Oh my God, if I hear one more photographer telling me about the number of megapixel that they have in their camera, I swear, your megapixel are not gonna make your photos, your composition, your craft field. That's gonna make a great photo. Nobody ever says, look at my photo, it's so great, it has 100 megapixel. Literally nobody, right? So why are you buying a camera based on the number of megapixel? Why? Because they tell you that you can crop. Well, guess what? There are a lot of programs where you can add megapixel and then you can print in really big format. Although to be honest with you, my 20 megapixel camera, I can print in really big format as well. I never had an issue. So I also don't know where all the buzz is about the fact that you can only print big if you have a gigantic number of megapixel. You know what megapixel do though? They are taking a lot of memories. That's to me, that's what they do. My camera that I have right now, it's 20 megapixel. It can take up to 80 megapixel if I want to. And that's true, there are some situations where I might need 80 megapixels, but it's not very often, and most of my shots are going to be completely fine with just 20 megapixel. So don't think that the best camera is the one with the more megapixels. Now that we talk about the myth of the big camera, the most expensive camera, the more megapixel camera, and moving past that, yes, there are some situations where you want those, but not for wildlife, not for most of the wildlife that you're going to be doing, not for most of the photos that you're going to be doing. What you want is a camera that's going to be flexible, that's going to be stable and stable. That's the most important. You in the field, you are looking for subjects. So if you have to carry a tripod, if you have to carry heavy equipment, that is gonna not make your life fun. That's not gonna make you want to take your camera everywhere you go, because to get great photos, you need to be ready every single day. I carry my camera every day with me when I go and walk. Why? Because I don't know what I'm gonna find. And if I have a camera that's not stable, that's heavy, it's not gonna come with me, and I might miss a lot of shots. So think about that. Stabilization is so important. Then what's also very important is to have a camera that might be able to track your subject, especially if you are starting. You might want a camera also that's going to give you a lot of frame per second. So then when you're taking a photo of a bird in flight, you will be able to really decide which frame is the best. With the placement of the wings, you also want to have a camera maybe that has featured like being able to decide which subjects to track. In my OM1 Mark II, it's called subject selection. So if I have 3 or 4 birds, then I can select the one bird that I want my focus to be on, especially if it's tracking the bird. Also, you might want to have tools like ProCapture, which means that if you're looking at a bird that's going to fly, you don't know when it's flying, but you want to be ready. You have pressed the shutter, and then your camera is going to start writing all those photos, but at the same time, it's not going to fill your buffer because it's going to erase the first photos. It's kind of a loop, taking photos after photos. And then when you see the action, you fully press the shutter, and here you go, you got the shot. That is kind of magic. That's going to help you get a lot of shots that you would not be able to get otherwise. Those are tools that you want to check that your future camera has. That will make for the best wildlife camera. That's it, right? You need to be able to carry your camera. You need to be able to have a lot of stabilization because you are going to be in the field and you might not want to stay on a tripod. You want to be flexible, work your angles. You also might want to have a camera that has tools like tracking your subject. Look at this. There is a cute little squirrel. I think he's agreeing with me. I think I'm gonna have to take a photo of it. Hello? Hello? There is a squirrel that just jumped. Oh my god, he's super cute. He's very like wondering what I'm doing. Here we go. That was the perfect example of why you need to have your camera with you all the time and why I love to have a system that's very light and that I carry with me all the time, because I would not have gotten that photo if I didn't have my camera with me right now. So yes, being ready and having a system that works for you is so important. That is really what makes the best camera for wildlife photography. Not about the megapixel, not about the size, not about the price. It's all about the tools, it's all about the flexibility, it's all about having a system that you can carry around. And maybe some of you are going to tell me I'm very happy with my heavy system because I can carry it. Great for you. But I think for a lot of us, it doesn't work, right? So I think that's why a lot of people are looking into systems that are more flexible and lighter. And now we are seeing with mirrorless cameras, more and more brands that are coming up with smaller system because they know that's where it's at. Another factor to consider is how weather-sealed your camera is. I live in New Hampshire. It can get super, super cold with snow. I need to know that my camera can take those very cold temperatures. Same thing if it's very warm. I know my camera is not gonna overheat. And then when I'm out in nature, well, there can be a storm coming, right? I need to know that my camera will be able to take the rain and not malfunction. Oh, I'm not gonna damage my camera because it is raining on my camera. And you know what? I want to prove you that this OM1 Mark II, it's IP53, it can definitely take on a lot of water. That's right, that's a famous water test. This is my own camera and I have zero problem pouring water on it. I know I'm not gonna have a problem. And I wonder how many of you out there with a different camera brand can say that. Would you put water on your camera? I just did put water on my camera and I know I can go and take photos. It's gonna be zero problem. So to me, having a camera that can withstand the element is essential for my wildlife photography. So now, what is the best camera for wildlife photography? Well, you can read a lot of articles and you'll find probably articles like the National Geographic that are going to tell you that the OM1 Mark II is actually the best camera for wildlife photography according to them. You will also find other places that will tell you that it is another brand's, you know, Nikon or Canon. But ultimately, I think you need to consider all the factors that we talk about and then decide what camera fits those factors. For me, the OM1 Mark II, I agree with the National Geographic saying that it's the best camera for wildlife photography because of all the points that I've made. But again, it doesn't mean that my opinion is going to be in line with your opinion. I think that maybe you will decide that you need different tools to make great wildlife photography. I think that would be a good discussion for this week, so feel free to put any comments below, but I warn you, if you're gonna start talking to me about megapixels, you lost me. I'm probably just gonna not even care about your comments because I really truly believe that it doesn't make a great photos. What makes a great photos is a multiplicity of things, and megapixel are not gonna create a great photo. I get sensor size, you know, there are arguments for or against, so maybe we'll find a common ground to disagree on sensor size and why you should have a macro four third or why you should have a full frame or a crop sensor. I think definitely there are some good arguments on each side, but for megapixels, no, you lost me. So I hope that this video was interesting and it will be a good topic of discussion. Just, you know, hope you get out there this weekend, get some strength back, maybe in the woods. Nature is always very healing for me, especially right now after the election. I'm quite political. I'm a woman. I'm LGBT. I am an immigrant. So yeah, it's been tough. But yeah, I'm out there. I fight for what I think is important, basic human rights, protecting our planet so we can still enjoy all the wildlife and our nature. It's something that I think we'll always have to fight for, unfortunately. So yeah, get out there. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to. And I will see you next weekend. Until then, happy shooting. Bye.